People's Rights opened its judicial year on the theme of year and organized a judicial seminar on the theme Advancing Towards Justice Through Reparations. The African Commission on the Human and People's Rights held a forum with civil society actors on specific reparation theme on the banks of statutory sessions, with 30 special interest groups drawing up recommendations centered on survivor-centered approach. A resolution dedicated to the Commission contribution of the year, theme of the year, was discussed during the panel, and recommendation will be adopted this session in October. I would like to salute the commitment of the African Peer Review Mechanism, with this year's distinguished itself by strategically reinforcing its actions around the theme of years. It has been reflected in the production of knowledge and strategic analysis by integrating into 2025 report on governance in Africa, dimensions relating to economic justice, to distribution of resources and innovative financing mechanisms that can support restorative policies. These efforts demonstrate that restorative justice cannot be limited to memory, but must also be part of concrete, sensible, and sustainable structural policy. In this respect, the APIM is fundamental lever to integrate reparation into national governance and development framework. The REX has led community dialogue on reconciliations and post-conflict reconstructions through reparative approach. There is space for regional governance perfectly suitable to carrying out regional consultations and promoting political, economic, and social integrations around the restorative agenda. Excellencies, distinguished guests. This year's theme also urged to transform reparation into a driving force for social, economic, and political progress. It is not just about righting the wrong of the past, but both about fostering strong, resilient, and equitable shared future for African generations. With this in mind, African children have expressed their voice loudly and clearly. At continental commemoration of the Day of African Child in Lilongwe, Malawi, they formulate recommendations on reparations and historical justice. These young voices are not marginal. They carry the echo of tomorrow Africa. They will also be heard on the celebration of the 35th anniversary of the African Shield Charter, scheduled to be in November in Mazero Kingdom in Lesotho, an event that I would like kindly invite all present. Excellency, distinguished guests, as we are aware, at the middle of the year, the platform members will continue mainstreaming the theme of the activities, and more still be done. This dialogue is an opportunity for us to build a bridge between institutions, community, generations, and nations. Together, we have the duty to restore Africa, its memory, its justice, and its full moral and political sovereignty. In this spirit, we need to move to actions by enacting policies, allocating resources, and establish inclusive mechanisms that give us full expressions to the reparative agenda. All states need to integrate reparation with their governance strategies and budget framework. African Union organs need to assure coordinations and monitoring of commitment. I thank you for your commitment and wish fruitful and transformative deliberations. Thank you.
We're grateful to you, the chairperson, for your remarks. And now, Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming us is Ghana's Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, MP.
Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, AU champion for reparations, AU champion for gender, AU champion for financial institutions, and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. He's a man of many championships and many hats. Your Excellencies, former heads of state, that is Her Excellency Saleh Work Zewde, the former president of Ethiopia, former president of Botswana, Excellency Magweti Masisi, former Vice President of Zimbabwe, Her Excellency Joyce Majunu, His Excellency the former Vice Prime Minister of Tunisia, Her Excellency Najla Bouden, colleague Ministers of State, Your Excellency Ambassador Bankole Adeoye, Commissioner for Political Affairs of the African Union, my Lord, the Acting Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Justice Bafu Boni, former Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, my Lady Justice Sophia Akufo, Your Excellencies, ambassadors and permanent representatives of the African Union member states, the General Secretary of the ruling National Democratic Congress of Ghana, the Honorable Fifi Fiavi Kwete, heads of AU and UN organs, representatives from regional economic communities and regional mechanisms, representatives from the diaspora, civil society organizations, youth activists, gender activists, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana, as well as the government and good people of Ghana, it is my distinct pleasure to extend very warm and sincere welcome to all participants gathered here in our beautiful city of Accra, Ghana, at this 13th high-level dialogue on human rights, democracy, and governance. On behalf of President Mahama, we welcome you to the land of freedom and justice, a country defined by our eternal struggles against the transatlantic slave trade and against neocolonialism. For us, justice, human rights, and good governance is a deliberate and conscious resolve. You'll find it in our DNA. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed honored to host this important gathering, which reflects the African Union's steadfast commitment to placing the rights and welfare of individuals at the heart of governance on our continent. This dialogue serves to advance the core principles of democracy while ensuring that justice, dignity, and inclusion are upheld. This year's theme, Justice, Rights, Reparations, and State Building, highlights crucial aspirational principles that deeply resonates with Ghana and reflects our collective journey as Africans. It emphasizes that sustainable development and lasting peace must be rooted in fairness, inclusivity, and the recognition or redress of historical injustices. As we contemplate the legacies of enslavement, colonialism, apartheid, and systemic exclusion, let us seize this opportunity to collaboratively envision and actively pursue a future where restorative justice moves beyond rhetorical discourse and manifests as a tangible reality for all. Ghana, as a dedicated and active member of the African Union, firmly upholds its advocacy for the principles of reparations and state building based on equity. We perceive this dialogue as both a timely and significant opportunity to cultivate meaningful avenues toward justice, drawing upon the wisdom of our elders, the passion of our youth, the exigencies of the African motherland, and the invaluable contributions of our diaspora. I would like to express my deep appreciation to the African Governance Architecture and the Political Affairs, Peace and Security Department of the African Union Commission for their spirited commitment in organizing this significant gathering. Additionally, I wish to extend my sincere gratitude to our partners, representatives from civil society, and of course, my colleagues at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for working together to put this high-level forum together. We aspire for this conference to go beyond conventional dialogue. May it provide a distinguished platform for the exchange of innovative ideas, facilitate open and sincere discussions, and cultivate a collective commitment to nurturing an African continent where rights are respected, voices are heard, justice is upheld, the democratic dividend is consciously harnessed, and opportunities are created for the many and not the few. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we must do this mindful of the global backdrop where efforts to address such matters in international circles have often been hampered by a lack of political will, moral courage, and oftentimes outright resistance by our detractors to this conversation. To conclude, Excellencies, we would like to extend a cordial welcome to you once again here in the beautiful city of Accra. We hope that your stay will be both fruitful and enriching, fostering reflection and inspiration throughout your time with us and beyond. As you may be aware, Ghana is renowned for its rich and diverse culture, shaped by her many ethnic groups and long-standing traditions, from vibrant music, dance, and storytelling to distinctive cuisine, art, and warm hospitality. The country offers a truly unique experience, one you can't find anywhere. We therefore encourage you to make some time to visit some of our historical and significant sites, such as the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's Mausoleum, the Black Star Square, our forts and castles, our many mountains and waterfalls, and our beautiful wildlife, which we assure you will be a memorable experience. On behalf of President Mahama, we welcome you warmly, and we hope that this deliberation will foster the Africa that we all want. Akwaba, Wezo, Ojeko, Antire, bienvenue, bienvenidos, karibu to all of you. Thank you very much.
One more time, Ghana's Minister for Foreign Affairs and MP for Norton, the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. Thank you very much for that warm note of welcome. A high-level conversation on democracy, governance, and human rights is not complete without the presence of our security forces from home and abroad. Let's make them welcome with a round of applause. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as a prelude to this high-level conversation, we had two pre-forums reflecting on the youth and women. We deem it appropriate now to present to you representatives from the Youth and Gender Fora to give us highlights of their pre-forums. Please make welcome Mr. Stephen Harageb and Regina Bole-Bote.
Your Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellencies, former heads of state and government, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, the Gender Pre-Forum has once again underscored the need for more than a mere mention of gender in policy discussions. It has revealed that true inclusion and redress require a comprehensive and systemic approach that goes beyond surface-level commitment. The following outcomes highlight the key insights from the Gender Pre-Forum to the high-level dialogue held on 27th of July in Accra, Ghana. I will now proceed to read the outcomes. Reparative justice should extend beyond addressing historical injustices, and it should also include a clear rejection of the continuing economic, social, and political disempowerment of women. Reparations are fundamentally linked to transitional justice as they seek to repair and restore. Considering this, multi-pronged approaches are essential. Gender-inclusive consultations should be conducted at the onset of reparative justice processes to understand the specific harms experienced by women and how best to address them. There is a critical need to undo the structural barriers and stereotypes ingrained in societal mindsets that continue to perpetuate the subjugation of women. This includes addressing and repealing discriminatory laws that restrict women from fundamental rights such as full property and land ownership. Culture and religion are cornerstones of African societies and critical vehicles for policy action. We should utilize them to drive the ratification, domestication, and implementation of frameworks such as the Maputo Protocol. Equally, increased sensitization about the Maputo Protocol's principles is crucial, particularly considering that it has been over 20 years since it came into force. The African Union is encouraged to mainstream and increase the participation of women traditional leaders in peace building and reparative justice processes. Member states are encouraged to urgently ratify, domesticate, and implement the African Union Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. Governments, CSOs, and society at large should destigmatize sexual violence in order to adequately address and implement gender justice solutions. Governments should equally implement systematic approaches to women's empowerment, including establishing effective justice systems that act decisively against perpetrators of gender-based violence. Financial inclusion mechanisms should be instituted as a broad strategy. Governments are therefore encouraged to be deliberate in instituting financial inclusion measures that enable women to achieve financial independence, recognizing the capital-intensive nature of today's world. The diaspora community offers more than just financial remittances. Their unique contributions, social and cultural, including expertise and networks, should be effectively harnessed in addressing and seeking reparatory justice. Intergenerational action is fundamental. There should be synergies and flexibility between the older and younger generations, adjusting to the contemporary realities while remaining open to the lived experiences of the older generation. And finally, the African Union is encouraged to make deliberate efforts to embed mandatory gender and youth audits in transitional justice and reparatory justice processes. I thank you for your kind attention.
Good morning. Your Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellencies, former heads of state and government, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. The Continental Youth Consultation has offered a sacred space for truth-telling and a bold envisioning which is reflected in these outcomes. These outcomes bear testament to the realities that youth of the continent and the diaspora are refusing to be spectators in the critical conversation to do with the present and the future. I will now proceed to read the outcomes of the 2025 Continental Youth Consultation held in Accra, Ghana on the 26th of July. The key outcomes: the youth should champion and safeguard the sovereignty of the continent, advocating for Africa's strengthened position, the world across social, political, and economic divides. There should be a meaningful representation of the youth at national, regional, and continental convenings in alignment with the demographic realities, culturally resident and community-driven. Culturally resident and community-driven. We must encourage intergenerational dialogue and, more importantly, intergenerational action. This ensures a dynamic convergence between the youth's understanding and expectations of reparative justice, thereby co-creating effective action. We must prioritize, leverage existing AU and continental tools, platforms, networks, and policies rather than advocating for the creation of new ones. Equally, African governments are encouraged to embed within their foreign policy positions the reparation agenda and objectives. We need to address the root causes that perpetuate inequality and injustice that include legal, economic, and political systems inherited from colonial rule. The youth of Africa and the diaspora must be bold and actively participate in the change-making processes that contribute to key continental decisions. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the youth as the moral campus of today should champion the coordinated unity of the continent. They should leverage their shared values, shared aspirations, and shared desires to demand reparative justice and to build the Africa we want and the Africa we deserve. I thank you for your kind attention.
Bold calls on us to ensure full, equal, and meaningful participation of gender and youth in seeking the Africa we want. Please help me say a big thank you to the representatives from the Youth Pre-Forum and the Gender Pre-Forum, Mr. Stephen Harageb and Ms. Regina Bote. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is heartwarming to note that long before these calls came up, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area came together and created the Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade, which is a global first. How about a resounding round of applause in celebration of their bold efforts? And representing the Secretary General is the Chief of Staff of the AFTA Secretariat, Mr. Rui Pedro Alfonso Livramento. Thank you for joining us. In speaking to us now, on behalf of the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, is the AU Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, who will speak to us in this opening statement. Would you please make welcome His Excellency Ambassador Bankole Adeoye.
Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana and the African Union champion for the theme of the year on reparations. Ladies, this short statement on behalf of His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. I quote, "The African Union expresses deepest appreciation for the warm welcome and generous hospitality extended to us by His Excellency President John Mahama, his government, and the wonderful good people of the Republic of Ghana. The city of Accra, Renaissance. It's also the most fitting host of the 13th high-level dialogue on democracy, human rights, and governance. Ghana, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs stated, has in its DNA a unique opportunity to bring all Africans and people of African descent together to reflect, to reconnect, to reimagine, to renew, to rethink our shared commitment to Africa's future. It is therefore a great honor for the African Union to partner with Ghana in this endeavor. Our continent is rich, Excellencies, in everything: resources, a dynamic youth, as we have seen, committed women. It is also necessary that the vision for a prosperous, democratic, and peaceful Africa is shared. Our transformation from the Organization of African Unity, OAU, to the African Union, AU, is a definitive milestone, a defining milestone in our history. We continue to work towards a renewed focus on peace and security. We continue to aspire for a united, dignified, globally influential Africa. But as we gather today, Excellencies, the fundamental truth must be the cardinal principles, the cornerstones of our transformation. It is within this context that we emphasize the nexus between democratic rights, reparations, and state building, justice, and collective rights. Healing. They provide the opportunities for economic advancement, democratic renewal, promotion of fundamental rights, and sustainable peace. This high-level dialogue is therefore crucial in our view to reflecting on strategies to address the governance deficits, to address and redirect the impact to state building. The challenges we face are enormous, but they are not insurmountable. We must continue to exhibit unwavering commitment to the African Union's shared values and norms. Excellencies, our path in Africa has been marked by resilience against transatlantic slave trade, against apartheid, against colonialism, and these eras cannot continue to define the African identity. From captivity, we must capture our future. From the looting of our cultural resources, we must define and redefine that our culture matters. Excellencies, the intentional erosion of the African social and cultural norms cannot also continue to define us. This historical injustice tore the fabric of our societies. But at the same time, today, we must renew that independent African states, even though burdened by this history, cannot be weighed down. The first Pan-African Congress on reparations held in Abuja in April 1993 clearly articulated this. It is therefore important that the legacy of slavery or colonialism, racial oppression, should be in a distant chapter, but as we continue to shape and reshape our future. Excellencies, let me again extend warmest gratitude to His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, the government, and the people of Ghana for the excellent leadership towards this high-level dialogue and the quest for reparations. Our focus is on transformative justice. Our focus is on transformation for development. I equally thank partners and stakeholders, especially African youth and women, who participated actively for 2 days in the productive pre-forum held here in Accra. In conclusion, Excellencies, permit me to emphasize that this dialogue should serve as the space for conversation, yes, but also as a space for the catalyst for action, because intergenerational action and in an inclusive manner will raise the bar, will shape the policies. Our former leaders are here. Our current leader is here. We can make a change for a potentially transformed Africa. It is important also that we make our focus about transformative change. The Africa we want is within reach, an Africa anchored on democracy, on justice, shared humanity, and durable global peace. End of quote. I thank you on behalf of the chairperson of the Commission.
The words of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, delivered to us so eloquently by the AU Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, His Excellency Bankole Adeoye. Please, a round of applause. Thank you ever so much. And now, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, laying the foundation on our theme, Justice, Rights, Reparations, and State Building, is the gift of the occasion, the President of our Republic and the champions for reparations. Would you please make welcome His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Thank you very much. Kindly be seated. My job is a very simple one, to open this high-level dialogue. And so I could just declare it open and go back and sit down. But I guess I'm expected to say a few things. Let me proceed on established protocol, but recognize our former heads of states and prime ministers, former prime ministers, to acknowledge our acting Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, ministers of state, our traditional leaders, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have assembled here this morning. It's with profound honor and heartfelt warmth that I welcome you all to Accra Africanism. And our Foreign Minister added, welcome to the center of the earth. He didn't go on to explain why, but it's that the meridian and the equator intersect in Ghana's territory, and that's why we say it's the center of the earth. We're very privileged to host the 13th high-level dialogue on democracy and human rights, governance, peace, and security, an essential forum at a defining moment in Africa's development trajectory. This year's dialogue affirms our shared commitment to confronting the structural challenges that continue to strengthen governance and ensure peace and security for the people of our continent. It also affirms our conviction that true and lasting peace can only be achieved when justice exists, when the rights of our people are respected, and when governance systems are truly inclusive, accountable, and are owned by the people that they serve. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, this dialogue could not have come at a more appropriate time. For far too long, the architecture of African states has rested on foundations imposed during a colonial era that neither understood nor respected our histories, our culture, or our aspirations. The enduring legacies of slavery, colonial exploitation, systemic racism, and economic subjugation are still the financial hardships imposed by unjust global systems and in the fragile governance systems, institutions that we're still struggling to strengthen, but also to shape a different and a better future for our continent, where African agency, sovereignty, and dignity are restored and respected. A future where state building is informed by our context, shaped by our people, and owned by our African communities. Ghana is honored to contribute to this continental vision. From the bold Pan-African ideals of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our first president, to our current engagement on reparative justice and democratic consolidation, Ghana has always stood at the forefront of the struggle for African dignity, unity, and self-determination. We believe that unity is our historical imperative and our most effective instrument for achieving justice and prosperity. The Ghanaian people remain committed to building a continent where no one is left behind and every voice is heard and valued. Yet, we must be honest. This dialogue cannot afford to become another ceremonial event filled with lofty speeches but void of action. Our citizens are watching and waiting. Our young people comprise the majority of our population and are growing increasingly impatient. They are not asking for charity, they demand fairness, they demand opportunity, and a stake in our continent's future. Civil society is mobilized, our diaspora is engaged, and our institutions, though still evolving, are increasingly bold and ready to deliver. We must rise to the occasion. In that spirit, allow me to place before you two urgent recommendations. And the first is I wish to commend the African Union Executive Council for extending the theme of the year on reparations to a decade on reparations. And so from 2026 to 2036 has been declared as the decade of reparations by the African Union. I also wish to commend the Executive Council for approving the terms of reference for the African Union Commission of Experts on Reparations and the African Union Reference Group of Legal Experts on Reparations. These are critical milestones. However, we must now move swiftly to operationalize these instruments. We must empower these bodies with the resources, visibility, and mandate to lead us on this noble journey of truth, justice, and restitution. Let this not be another declaration left on paper. Let it be a living mandate for action. Secondly, I urge this dialogue to take a firm stand on the need for legally binding frameworks across all member states to safeguard our civic space. We must protect the right to organize, to protest, and participate. We must preserve the freedom of the press, the voices of the youth and our women, and marginalized groups must be heard and protected. Democracy cannot thrive in the presence of fear or repression. The legitimacy of our governments depends on the inclusion of all our people. Governments must exist for all our people and not just a few. Equally important, state building. Widespread civic disengagement is not simply a matter of apathy. It is often the result of exclusion, mistrust, and systemic failure. And therefore, we must integrate political and civic education into our school curriculum. We must encourage public engagement through national dialogues and community platforms. And we must ensure that our democratic institutions speak a language our citizens understand and trust. Democracy must be more institutional. It must not be just institutional, it must be relational. It must be rooted in the daily lives, experiences, and expectations of our people. This dialogue must be remembered as a meeting of minds and a moment of continental reawakening. Justice must inform the institutions we create. This is not a romantic notion. Let us make this dialogue count. Let us not merely reflect, but let us act. Let us speak of Africa's potential and realize it in our lifetime. On this note, it is with deep conviction and hope for our collective future that I have the honor and privilege of declaring the 13th High-Level Dialogue on Human Rights, Democracy, and Akwaba, and welcome once again to
one more time, the President of our Republic and the champion for reparations, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So many takeouts from that amazing keynote and opening. Democracy must not be institutional, but must be relational, embedded in the daily norms of our people. Mr. President, thank you for those nuggets. What you've given us is a shot in the arm for us to deliberate on this broad theme and revert with good outcomes. We promise you that it will be a living mandate of action as you've instructed us to have. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, the President of our Republic. On our theme from your colleagues, past heads of state and government, and ladies and gentlemen, after which the official opening ceremony will be brought to a close. The President of the Republic has to take leave of us now, and so we shall all rise and acknowledge our host nation, Ghana, with the anthem. May God bless us all in our homeland, Africa. Mr. President, if it pleases you, would like to have 3 memorable photographs to signify the end of this. Please be seated briefly. Joining the President of our Republic, our former heads of state and government, it's my pleasure to invite the former President of the Republic of Botswana, His Excellency Mokgweetsi Eric Masisi, the former President of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, His Excellency Salwek Zedwe, the former Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Her Excellency Joyce Mujuru, and the former Prime Minister of the Republic of Tunisia, His Excellency Niger Boudin. Joining the first party will be the AU Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, His Excellency Bankole Adeoye, Her Excellency Ama Chum Amwa, AU Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, Ambassador Rebecca Amugi, Permanent Representative of Uganda and Chairperson of the PSC and Chairperson of the PRC Subcommittee on Human Rights, Democracy and Governance, and Madame Simone Mbode Diouf, African Youth Ambassador for Peace, West Africa. And for the last photograph, joining the two parties will be the Acting Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, His Lordship Justice Paul Bafuboni, Ambassador Marie Antoinette Rosé Carter, CEO of the APRM, Honorable Wilson Almeida Adao, ACE RWC, our youth representatives, Madame Regina Bole Bote and Stephen Bernardos Harage.